Story 1. The girl who had memory loss because of carbon monoxide poisoning. On the 15th of April, I found a yellow Post-it note in a handwriting that wasn't mine on my desk, reminding me of some errands I had to do, but told literally nobody about. While odd, I chalked it up to something I did in my sleep, thinking maybe in my half-awake state I scrawled it so it didn't appear to be my handwriting. I threw it out and thought little of it. On the 19th, I found another Post-it note on the back of my desk chair in the same handwriting as the previous note, telling me to make sure I saved my documents. I was freaked out, but there were no other signs of a break-in, so I set up a webcam in my house aimed at my desk and used a security cam app for it to record after detecting movement. On the 28th, I woke up to find another Post-it note. This one saying, "Our landlord isn't letting me talk to you, but it's important we do." I immediately checked the webcam's folder on my computer and found nothing from the night before. But my computer's recycling bin had been emptied, which I am certain I did not do recently, indicating someone had noticed the webcam and deleted the files. They were just saved straight to a folder on my desktop called Webcam. Today, on the 1st of May, I found another Post-it note, this time on the outside of my door with nothing written on it, and there also appeared to be Post-its on many other doors in my apartment complex, all blank, in varying colors. Do I have any legal recourse here? I have no proof except for the Post-its, but those are written by my pen and on my Post-it notes, so conceivably I could have faked them. Would contacting the police get me into any trouble if they can't determine an outside source for this? I just want to make sure I'm not wasting anyone's time. Should I consult my landlord? Those also living in the complex? Edit. I pulled up. A letter I received from my landlord back when I moved in, and the handwriting is identical. Could this count as evidence? Next section is from the guy who is figuring out what is happening, and he saved her life from carbon monoxide poisoning. You seem sincere, and this doesn't appear to be the plot of a Ray Bradbury short story. It's possible that your landlord is leaving notes inside your apartment, but they don't make any sense in the context you're describing them. It's likely that you are writing the notes yourself, but you are forgetting. Do you use Post-it notes as reminders in any other parts of your life or job? Yes, this might be a mental health issue. You might be experiencing some sort of dissociative disorder, or it might be a physical problem. You mentioned that you have a very unusual narrow bedroom with no windows. Is there a chance that you are not getting enough ventilation when you sleep, or that there is a carbon monoxide leak in the building? A cheap CO detector, which you should have anyway, is a fast way to find out. You'll also have really bad headaches. You know your own medical and mental history and your other experiences. If you think these incidents might be you writing notes to yourself, there's no shame in getting somebody qualified to give you an opinion. The girl. Thanks to everyone who sent suggestions and gave advice on how to proceed, especially to those who recommended a CO detector. Because when I plugged one in the bedroom, it read at 100 ppm. I had CO poisoning and thought my landlord was stalking me. Comments. Whoa, this is not at all where I was expecting this story to go. So, you wrote yourself a bunch of Post-it notes and forgot them because of CO poisoning? Apparently. I also set up a webcam by placing it on a shelf, downloading a camera app to my phone, and making a folder on my desktop called Webcam, and made an iPhoto library in the folder. You had better start loving yourself, because your body-brain saved its own life without your approval. You are king right now. Treat yourself to something you love like right now because you're alive. If this story's true, then it's amazing. Seriously. For anyone wondering, apparently she fully recovered from her addiction and became an interventionist herself. She's getting a master's degree in psychology and is doing really well in her classes. Ambien did it for me. Stop eating my food. Fuck off and buy your own. It was me, binge eating in my sleep. If there wasn't anything left to eat, I'd leave. The notes. Weird thing to wake up to. I lived alone. My mom did this for years. My brother and I used to get in trouble for eating PB&J and leaving peanut butter all over the counter or the bread open. Then, my mom had to start tapering off the Ambien for another drug she needed to take. She woke up and was standing in the kitchen, over the sink, eating a PB&J. She ran up the stairs and woke me to apologize. Ambien is scary stuff. I woke up in jail, had gotten in my car in my underwear, with my dog, and drove to the 24-hour grocery store near my apartment at like 3 a.m., parked right in front of the store in the fire lane, cranked my radio to the max, and fell back asleep. Evidently, they called the cops, and when an officer arrived and finally got me to open the door, I got out and took a slow-motion swing at him while speaking gibberish. Luckily, was only charged with public intoxication. I had not had anything to drink, no drugs other than my prescribed Ambien. Years later, I noticed that they added sleepwalking or driving with no memory of the experience to the TV ads for Ambien. I had a few similar experiences. The first time I had taken it, and while waiting for it to kick in, was chatting online with my best friend. Next thing I know, I wake up in my room with that friend in my room sleeping on my floor on the fold-out couch mattress. I woke him up and he filled me in. The short story was I eventually started saying really weird things. He thought I was drunk and got worried, so he drove over to see what was going on. He found me in the middle of my street, wrapped in a blanket, wearing nothing but my underwear. You'd think this would be my last time taking it, but I continued to take it for another 4 years. But learning from my first mistake, I found that as long as I took it and put myself to bed, I was pretty okay. A couple times I ordered pizza in my sleep. Waking up to an uneaten pizza in my room, one time I was caught by a girlfriend eating raw bacon out of the fridge, but for the most part, nothing crazy. Then one night I took it and laid down and woke up at my grandparents' house. My grandparents lived a few towns over, an easy 30-minute drive by car. When I woke up there, my grandparents filled me in. Turns out, I had begun walking to their home, again a 30-minute car ride. I was picked up approximately 10 minutes from their home by a nice man who had seen me walking barefoot along the side of the road. The blisters and cuts on my feet were horrific. Anyways, the man dropped me off, but stayed parked out front to make sure I made it in Sessafili. My grandparents believe he was some sort of predator because he too was a bit out of it when my grandparents awoke to me trying to break into their house through a window and recognized me and realized it seemed the nice man was about to follow me inside. They thanked him for his kindness, but told them they had the situation under control. They called my parents, and my parents came over the next morning. I went to the doctor that day and requested to be taken off Ambien. I told him I'd rather never sleep again than do something that crazy. He said, "Oh, that's silly. Why don't you try this script called Trazodone? It's a good sleep aid that these things don't happen with." I was like, WTF, why didn't you try this one first? My great-grandmother had bad COPD and then had an MI one day. She had told us she never wanted to be intubated. So when we got to the hospital, I didn't let them. The doctor explained that her CO2 would build up, and then she would fall asleep and die. They moved us to a private room, and the entire family came. She sat in bed, smiling for hours, while we visited and told her we loved her. She went to sleep, and the nurse came in after a few hours and told me it was happening. I crawled into bed with her, and she died. This video showed me why she was smiling, and when he said that it was a good way to go, I thought of her and hoped that was exactly what she experienced. Thank you for posting, although for a different reason. Not to take away from your story at all, but just to correct it for anyone who might be reading this. The effects of hypoxia, oxygen starvation, and hypercarbia, increased level of carbon dioxide, are two separate things. The doctor explained that her carbon dioxide would build up if she wasn't intubated because her COPD wasn't allowing her to breathe effectively. Ventilation, breathing and ridding your body of the carbon dioxide waste it produces, is just as important as oxygenation. In fact, oxygenation for a COPDer is often very easy to achieve. We actually want to keep these kinds of patients a little less oxygenated than normal values, as oxygen starvation is one of the driving factors for us to breathe when our body no longer responds to the effects of carbon dioxide retention, as is the case with some COPDers. Our great-grandmother died because increased carbon dioxide levels will put her into a coma, similar to overdosing on narcotics where they depress breathing. Same thing happens. If your breathing is depressed, your carbon dioxide levels build up, you go into a coma and die if no interventions are taken. And once you are no longer breathing effectively, you will become oxygen-starved. And if your heart is not getting enough oxygen, it will stop. On a side note, good for you for standing up for your great-grandmother's wishes.